Hey guys, it's Graham. What's cracking? We're going to play a game called Why Does My Car Feel So Much Smaller After My Wife Drives It? Ugh. I apologize for my voice. I'm coming down with the crud that my kids have had for the last week. It never fails. For the second time, I'm going to record the audio on this and hope it works. Let's talk about a book by Owen Colfer called The Supernaturalist. He is best known for his Artemis Fowl books, and I will cover the first couple of those in a different video. But it was because of Artemis Fowl that I became aware of his work. I listened to that one before I listened to any of his other stuff. I did the audio back in, I don't know, '09 maybe. This is, again, back when middle grade and young adult were still at their peak, and because that was the genre in which I wanted to publish, I was familiarizing myself with more of the authors who were successful in it. And so after reading the first couple of Artemis Fowl books, I dug into his backlist, and I found two books called The Supernaturalist and The Wish List. I'll cover The Wish List later. It's a charming little short piece, and I don't think I have a copy in my library anymore, oddly enough, but I still have a copy of The Supernaturalist. It's set in a corporate dystopic future. The world is in bad shape. Environmental catastrophes everywhere. A lot of species have gone extinct, and most people are broke, hungry, and miserable. It is in these conditions that we find our protagonist, who goes by the name of Cosmo Hill. He was an orphan. His baby Pram was left on the steps of a building on Cosmonaut Hill in, I want to say this was San Francisco, but I could be getting the city wrong. It has been a while since I read it. But there is this naming convention where orphans are named after wherever they're found, and so his name is Cosmo Hill. And he's in an orphanage basically run by the state / another corporation that more or less rents out the children for product testing and occasionally for scientific experiments. So the kids in this orphanage have a pretty miserable existence, and after one kid runs afoul of the wardens and the guardians too much, he puts himself in mortal danger, and unfortunately he's handcuffed to Cosmo at the time, and he and Cosmo fall off a building as they're running away from the orphanage guards and the police. And the other kid dies, and Cosmo almost dies, and he's rescued by a couple of other street urchins who find value in him because, hey, there's something special in this world where people have had near-death experiences. Once you've had a near-death experience, you're able to see creatures that are otherwise invisible to people around them. And if you see these creatures, you can zap them to get rid of them. Because if they hang around mortals for too long, these creatures will suck the life out of them and kill them. And so Cosmo teams up with Stefan, Mona, and Ditto to become a supernaturalist and go around with specialized tools hunting these blue creatures wherever they can find them. He learns the backstories of the other supernaturalists, and this is a story that it moves at a pretty good clip. I want to say it's only 10 chapters long. You've got to do that with middle grade. It's got to move fast because kids have short attention spans, and you've also got to reward their curiosity. Excuse me. After J.K. Rowling, had success with the first couple of Harry Potter books, a bunch of other middle grade writers started to emulate the qualities of those first 2 or 3 books, where things would happen pretty plainly and ordinarily throughout, and then you would get to the third act and find out that pretty much everything that you had just read was actually something else going on. This was actually that. This happening was this here, and if she was successful, and oftentimes she was, that's why she sold so many books and had even so many adult readers. If she was successful, then she'd trick you and fool you, and the reveal would be pleasant and delightful. Well, Owen Colfer was one of many authors who succeeded at emulating that quality in his work, and so it happened that The Supernaturalist has a pretty significant plot twist about half to 2/3 of the way through, and it's all tied up in the individual characters and their motivations and what they're after, what they value, and they all grow throughout the uniqueness of this challenge. I'm being intentionally vague because, with this book being as short as it is, it's a very easy and accessible read. Um, Colfer is a guy that, in some ways, you can tell that he values things that I don't overly focus on in my reading and writing. In one or two of the Artemis Fowl books, he kind of beats you over the head with environmental activism. Environmentalism is a recurring theme in his work, and it does play a role here, just in the setting and in the world building. And alongside that environmentalism, there's often a streak of anti-corporatism, which I think is healthy. So he presents those in his book, but he does so well. He doesn't present them for their own sake. They have a role to play, which is just the mark of a dedicated craftsman and creator and an artist, not a propagandist who just wants to grab your attention and then show you whatever it is that's most important to them. If you want to share something that's important to you, make it relevant for the story. He does that here. A lot of the other world building details were extreme extrapolations of the world that we live in today. We talk about living in a hyper litigious society where people can get sued for anything. He takes it to the next several evolutions of that, and you've got like highly athletic, borderline combat trained paralegals who can rope in anytime there's any illegal activity, and they've got authority to arrest people and basically do like a bunch of pretrial stuff in the field. It's wacky, it's zany, and it's sarcastic, but it's also a bit of deft commentary on like, well, what if this thing that we're dealing with in the real world was just, I don't know, 20% crazier? What would it look like? The tech is cool. They've got these things called lightning rods that they use to zap the blue monsters that they can see. There's cellophane wrap, like pills that they use. Pills, that's the wrong word. Like the cops have these weapons where they shoot you, and it like wraps you up in this kind of like clear gel wrap that binds you tight. It's like a full body wrap, and it sedates you, and it's a big pain in the neck to get out of it. And other than, geez, I'm sorry. In addition to it just being like a cool piece of in-world tech, it also plays a role in the story. Owen Colfer is very good at making everything matter, and his word economy usage is just at the peak of his game here. I really wish that he had gotten more recognition for this title alongside Artemis Fowl. Artemis Fowl is a great book. I haven't finished the whole series, but that first one is fantastic. This one is just as good, in my opinion. And if you're going to pick up the audiobook, you'll be delighted with the narrator, who maybe he's done other books since then, but at the time, this was kind of the only credit to his name on Audible. It's Chiwetel Ejiofor, who was, what would you know him from? He was the operative in Serenity. He was also the main character guy, Solomon, in 12 Years a Slave. He's been in the Marvel movies as Baron Mordo in the Doctor Strange stuff. Just a very unique and charismatic voice, and he lends it very well to this story. So pick up the audiobook if that sounds like your cup of tea. But if you decide to grab it in print, it's short, it's enjoyable, it's full of imagination, and there's a satisfying, gosh, I'm so sorry, guys. There's a satisfying and hopeful and optimistic conclusion throughout this otherwise dour novel set in a grim and gritty and grungy world. So that is my endorsement of The Supernaturalist. Oh, I gotta pull over. Here come the paralegals. Hardy har har har. Y'all drive safe. See you out there.